Let's take a look at this right here. Not a single weed in this bed. Oh, there's one right there. Now let's take a look at this bed. So this is up near my new renovation that I did last summer. So this landscape bed and that landscape bed over on the other side has not seen pre-emergent in probably a year and a half. And you can see it's just riddled with weeds. I actually sprayed these with Roundup a couple days ago, getting ready to level this place out and add some ground cover to it and add some pre-emergent. So we're not going to do pre-emergent up here today. In my opinion, you really need some ground cover to apply the pre-emergent. Today we're going to be putting out some pre-emergent in the landscape beds. It's April 5th, 2022. This definitely could have been done a little earlier. Probably should time it about the time that you apply your pre-emergent to your yard, but it's better late than never. Haven't seen a whole lot of weeds germinating. We still got a couple frosts ahead of us in the month of April, so not too awful worried about it. We'll just take care of the ones that have already germinated with some Roundup. So this is the product I'm going to be using today, Snapshot. Pick it up at Site 1. There's a couple other good ones you can use in the landscape bed. Preen is another one. And you could honestly use your generic prodiamine or dithiapyr as well in your landscape beds if you want. There's no harm in doing that, but this product will cover a lot more weeds than what you see in your typical yard pre-emergent. But on that same note, you want to make sure that you don't get this in your yard. You could have the potential to see damage to your turf, so you want to try to keep it out of your yard if you can. Just to answer the first question that everybody has, when should you apply this? Well, the best time to apply it is, in my area, is around February to March before you get anything germinating. And then you want to apply it multiple times throughout the year, and we'll look at the rate duration on this as well and see how long it lasts. But typically I apply it twice a year. You probably should really do it 3 times a year, but I like to cover the spring weeds and then I'll try to cover the winter weeds, so I don't worry too much about what germinates in the summertime because it's usually very minimal, especially if you have good ground cover. It will protect the pre-emergent berry and make it last a little longer. For the tools we're using today, I've got 2 different kinds of spreaders. So this is called a Spread-Rite G. You can pick those up at Site 1 as well. There's a couple places you can order from online. And basically, fill the hopper up and you turn it upside down and it's got this grid pattern on bottom and it kind of evenly disperses your granules. You can also use a broadcast spreader, and I've got several beds that are big enough to use this in. The reason I don't like using it is because it just covers you up in pre-emergent and you'll be filthy at the end and you'll have to shower. So this is a really good option for big beds, and if I was doing like an all-day project, this would definitely be what I'm going to use. But for me, I kind of like the precision of the small handheld one, and it really doesn't take too much longer, and you don't get filthy by the time you get done spreading it. So just going over this label, a few things to mention. With any granular type application, it's going to have to be watered in to be effective. We've got a rainstorm coming in a few hours. It's supposed to be a 5 to 6 hour rainstorm, which would be perfect. The only thing the label mentions about reapplication is if you apply the 150 pounds per acre, that you shouldn't reapply it within 60 days. So if you wanted to apply it right now in the middle of April, then you would reapply it in the middle of June, and then you'd reapply it again in the middle of August. So for me personally, I just skip that summer application and I just do a springtime application and a fall time application, just like I would in my Zoysia. Just tries to keep everything consistent and on the same schedule, that way I don't miss applications. Taking a look at the broadcast rate chart, you see that per 1,000 square foot, which is what we're going to go by, 2.3 pounds up to 4.6 pounds per 1,000 square feet, and we'll just go to that middle one there, 3.45 pounds per 1,000 square feet, and that translates into 2.6 quarts per 1,000 square foot. This next image I put up is a picture of the instruction manual that comes with the Spread-Rite G Spreader, and if you take a look at the pictures at the bottom, it'll actually show you what the area should look like after you get done spreading, depending on the rate that you put out. So per the middle rate that we chose on the snapshot, it's 150 pounds per acre. So you can see the picture in the top right hand corner is about what it should look like when we get done. So when you purchase this spreader, it's going to come with some different inserts in the end here that are going to restrict your flow. This is a letter B, and this is the one that I've calibrated to. It just goes up inside of the tube here, and that's what's going to restrict your flow coming out, so your calibration is more correct. We decided on the middle rate of 2.6 quarts per 1,000 square foot. So since we're doing a 500 square foot area, we're gonna go with 1.3 quarts. So that's gonna be right about 43 ounces. And so our goal is to put out this 43 ounces over that 500 square foot area. Don't forget your deflector plate. One thing to keep in mind that this is a pre-emergent and you're putting in your landscape bed. So you need to make sure you're not intending on planting flower seeds in the landscape beds. It can affect bulbs as well, so you want to check and make sure, like tulips or daffodils or anything like that, irises, make sure that's not on the label for being negatively affected by it. Step this area off here and directly in line with this tree, and then over from the tree over to the edge is right around 500 square feet. So we're going to see how far this 1.3 quarts goes over this 500 square feet. One thing you want to consider if you are calibrating your spreader, we can't do it in an area that would be full of landscaping, like right in front of the house there, because you've got so much bush space, unless you're going all the way up under the bushes, which there's no need to do that. Whatever you step off might only be half the square footage of what you actually spread. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to calibrate this, it needs to be more in a wide open type area. So there's a lot of variables here, and I'm not going to say that calibrating at one time is going to be sufficient, but I've done this quite a many times. I'm just showing you the steps on how I would go about calibrating it if I didn't know what my calibration was. So over a 500 square foot area, we have probably 4 ounces left. So we started with 43, 44 ounces, something like that. So we got about 4 ounces left, so I'm pretty satisfied with the fact that it came out that close. A couple options you have if you wanted to change your calibration is you could slow down your walking pace. You just want to make sure that you're doing what's normal to you, that way you can be consistent. Or you could just go with the lower rate. As long as you're staying above the minimum rate that they recommend on the label, you should be just fine just staying below that lower rate, and your duration may be just a little bit shorter. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and fill this hopper completely full, and we're gonna go ahead and do the entirety of the landscape. Take a look on this stepping stone here, what it's supposed to look like. This is how I do mine. Now depending on the rate, it will look a little different, but you can see that's about what the application should look like right there. So one thing to keep in mind, you want to be consistent, you want to keep things even, and that way you can, adapt to what works and what doesn't work. If you just go out there and just wing it every time, you're never going to know what worked that year. One thing I like about this spreader is it is very accurate when it comes to spreading along the edge of your grass. That should do it. It didn't take too awful long to do the landscaping around here. This spreader actually does a really good job and goes a lot quicker than what you'd think. Highly recommend this spreader. It's really accurate and really controllable compared to a broadcast type spreader. So hopefully we'll get a decent rain today, gets it all watered in, and we should be set for the next couple months. Appreciate y'all watching. Let me know if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. This is going to be a perfect, nice, steady, slow rain. Put out the fertilizer for the landscaping yesterday, and I put out the pre-emergent in all the landscaping beds today. always try to time all my granular applications around the rainfall. It'll give you a little bit of guidance on the label about how long it can sit there before it needs to get watered in, but it's best just to get it watered in same day or within the next couple days. Yard's looking really green. Hadn't had any fertilizer on the yard yet. All we've done so far is scalped it and put down some pre-emergent on it.